The Lord be with you. A reading from the book of Luke. The rulers sneered at Jesus and said, "He saved others. Let him save himself. If he is the chosen one, the Christ of God." Even the soldiers jeered at him. As they approached to offer him wine, they called out, "If you are king of the Jews, save yourself." Above him, there was an inscription that read, "This is the King of the Jews." And I must apologize. I am at the wrong one. So let me start over again if you don't mind. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Pilate said to Jesus, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus answered, "Do you say this on your own, or have others told you about me?" Pilate answered, "I am not a Jew, am I? Your own nation and the chief priests handed you over to me. What have you done?" Jesus answered, "My kingdom does not belong to this world. If my kingdom did belong to this world, my attendants would be fighting to keep me from being handed over to the Jews. But as it is, my kingdom is not here." So Pilate said to him, "Then you are a king." Jesus answered, "You say I am a king. For this I was born, and for this I came into the world, to testify to the truth. Everyone who belongs to the truth listens to my voice." The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. Okay, let me see if I can do better here. Let everybody know, if you aren't familiar with who I am, I was ordained a month and a half ago, and I have not completed my 5-year training yet. So I'm doing OJT right now. So bear with me. But we're talking about a person who had no servants, but they called him master. He had no education, but they called him teacher. He had no medicines, but they called him healer. He had no army, but kings feared him. And he committed no crime, but he was crucified. And today we're celebrating the solemnity of Jesus Christ, King of the universe. And in the reading today, it talks a lot about the Passion. He was on trial. And Jesus had gone through suffering that we can only, or can't even imagine. But he did it for love. And I always wondered, as he's going through the Passion and he's hanging on the cross, why doesn't he just jump off and say, "I'm done, I'm out of here"? But he stayed and he fulfilled his mission for love for us. And because of the great fall, we will all suffer at some point in our life. Whether it's emotionally, financially, spiritually, we will suffer. And I want to talk to you a little bit about my suffering. About 6 years ago, I took a course, and one of the things that caught my ear was the instructor said, when we pray, it's us talking to God. But that little gut feel, the whisper in the ear, the intuition, that's when God is speaking to us. And around that time, I just had this gut feel that I would be dead within a year. And things were happening to my body that I thought was just old age. I was getting slower. Details I don't want to get into, but I thought it was just age. And my wife and I attended an Alpha class around that period of time. It was about 7, 8 months after that feeling I had. And one of the classes was praying to the Holy Spirit over each person at our table. And Bob, you were there. And at our table was a woman who was in the Order of Carmelites, very religious lady. And so I prayed over her, and after she tapped me on the shoulder and she said, "I need to talk to you." So we went to the side, and she said, "Your guardian angel was trying to tell me something." And I joked around and said, "Tell him I said hi." 2 weeks had gone by, and I saw her again, and I said, her name was Terry, "Terry, what's going on?" She said, "Well, I prayed to get an answer, and what I got back was that you're in danger." My guardian angel was telling me I was in danger. And I'm like, holy crackers, what's going on? She said, "You need to talk to a priest, you need to go to confession, you need to get your house blessed." I started the rosary. I was doing everything I could think of to get in right with God. And what was funny is when I went to confession, it was quite a while since I went to confession. And I wanted to do it right because of the perceived threat. And so I went, and it's dangerous. You go on Google and you research it. And it came up with variations of every commandment. And I said, holy crackers, I violated every one of them. So I sat there and I made a list of every commandment. Commandment number 1, this is what I did. Commandment 2, 3, all the way through. And when I was done, all 10 commandments, Father Patrick, who was with me, he said, that was the most detailed confession I have ever seen in my life. So I did the act of contrition, and hopefully I was on the right track. And about 2 months after that, I was up in Kentucky having lunch with my daughter and my grandbaby, and not knowing there was a doctor at the restaurant who knew my daughter. So that night, the doctor calls my daughter and says, something's wrong with your dad. He needs to go see a doctor right away. So my daughter called me up in a panic, and I said, well, I got a physical coming up in a week, 10 days. And so I went for my physical. They drew blood, and about 4 o'clock that afternoon, I get a call from my doctor, and he says, you need to get to the emergency room right away. I said, why? What's going on? He said, just get to the hospital. So I went to the hospital and found out I was short 2 units of blood, and that's, I guess, why I was so tired. And they did an MRI, and they found cancer on my left kidney. So he said, you need to go see a urologist. So I went to the urologist, and the size of the cancer, the tumor, and where it was located, he said, well, you got one good kidney, we're just going to have to take out your left kidney. So I had the surgery, and I was still getting a lot of abdominal pains. And so I went for a colostomy, not a colostomy, colonoscopy, thank you. Neither do I. So I did that, but he couldn't do a complete check, I guess I'll put it that way. I had blockage in my small intestines. So I swallowed a capsule that had a camera on it, and it was supposed to pass within 72 hours. Well, it never passed. It was stuck somewhere. So went to an oncology surgeon, only to find out that I had a blockage in my small intestine just before my colon. And he said, you're going to have surgery. So 6 weeks after my one surgery, now I'm on the operating table going through another surgery. Well, they removed it, but I still had tumors throughout my abdominal area. So I started chemo, and I went through 3 years of chemo, and it must have been, close to 50 treatments. And I did radiation and experimental pills and all that. And just 2 months ago, I guess it is, the doctors said, the chemo that we're doing, it just doesn't seem to be working. So we're just going to have to figure out, do you just go home and live the rest of your life? So again, I was getting abdominal pains again, and I was rushed to UT Medical. My stomach was swollen and hard as a rock, and the surgeon on call at the time said, "You need emergency surgery." And he said, "To let you know, you have a 50-50 chance of surviving the surgery." So I'm like, what choice do I have? Let's go for it. So I went into surgery, and as you can tell, I survived it. But when he opened me up, he said I was riddled with cancer. He told my wife this, and he said, "Expect 2 weeks, and let him just enjoy whatever time he has left." Well, here we are now, over 2 months. Found out I put on 25 pounds since surgery, which is always a great sign. My energy's coming back. So why this is happening, I put it in the hands of God. And as I went through this whole ordeal, I had two choices to make. I can curse God and say, "Why are you doing this to me?" Or I could turn to God for peace. And that's what I elected to do. I turned to God, and I have comfort in Him. I trust Him. And I have a whole lot of people praying for me. So as I continue to defy these odds, it's the work of God. That's the best thing I could say. So what I tell people is, when you face your suffering, and every one of us will face suffering at some point in our life, you have to make a decision. Do I turn to God, or do I turn my head from God? And it's an easy choice for me. That's my story. I'm thankful for God I'm still here. I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and this is OJT, so bear with the mistakes. But just want to end it by saying God is good. Thank you.